Can they hear me?
Can hear you,
Maybe
Minister.
start? Yeah, right. Dear colleagues and friends, with your permission, I would like to begin the meeting today. I welcome you all to the Brics Foreign Ministers meeting. The COVID-19 pandemic, unfortunately, prevents me from greeting all of you in person. It also continues to provide the larger context in which we assess the world and our policies. This is a time to reflect on its many implications. I also express my condolences for the lives lost due to this pandemic in all your countries. Dear colleagues, India has assumed the chairship of the Brics on its 15th anniversary. We have come a long way from the first time our foreign ministers met in New York in 2006. But the principles that guide our grouping remain consistent over the years. We strive for a fair, just, inclusive, equitable, and representative multipolar international system. It is one based on international law and the UN Charter that recognizes the sovereign equality of all states and respects their territorial integrity while displaying mutual respect for interests and concerns of all. It is only by conducting our policies in accordance with these principles that we can expect to bring about the change we desire. Over the years, Brics has evolved its unique model of engagement that is based on consensus. Our collective endeavor is also to ensure that global decision-making reflects contemporary realities. To this end, we have identified 4 key deliverables for our chairship: reform of the multilateral system, counter-terrorism cooperation, using digital and technological solutions to achieve SDGs, and enhancing people-to-people cooperation. I'm very happy to note that we have made substantial progress on each of these areas in the past 5 months with the continued cooperation and support of our partners. Excellencies, dear colleagues, we have a packed agenda for our discussions today. I propose the agenda be adopted if there is no objection. I now look forward to hearing from each of you. I would like to give the floor first to Minister Wangi for his opening remarks.
My good friends and good colleagues, it is such a pleasure to meet you again virtually. I thank Minister Jaishankar for the thoughtful arrangements India has made for this meeting. Let me begin by once again expressing my sympathy to India over the severe impact of the new wave of COVID-19 infections. At this trying time, China stands in solidarity with India and all Brics countries. As long as it is needed by India, I believe that all Brics partners, including China, will provide further support and assistance at any time. And we are fully confident that India will certainly overcome the pandemic. Brics cooperation now faces the profound and complex ramifications of the pandemic and changes unseen in a century. This is a challenge for Brics countries, but opportunities could also emerge from a crisis. We believe that with all of us joining forces, Brics countries will surely display its unique value and play a dual role. Since the beginning of the year, and despite the impact of COVID-19, India as BRICS chair has worked vigorously, focusing on the theme of BRICS F15, intra-BRICS cooperation for continuity, consolidation, and consensus. More than 100 events have been designed to advance cooperation on the 3 pillars, strengthen the BRICS mechanism, and uphold the momentum of BRICS cooperation. China commends India for its efforts, and we are ready to work with BRICS countries to support India as the chair and ensure tangible outcomes for this year's BRICS cooperation. I look forward to exchanging views, coordinating positions, and building consensus with you on issues of shared interest to help this meeting a success. Together, we will take a solid step towards deeper BRICS cooperation in the political and security fields and lay a strong foundation for this year's summit. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Wangi, for your opening remarks. I would now request Minister Naledi Pandor of South Africa to make her opening remarks.
Chairperson, Minister Jaishankar, Minister Wang Yi, Minister Franca, Minister Lavrov, and let me, on behalf of all of us, welcome Minister Franca to our BRICS family. I'm honored, Chairperson, to be able to address this, our 4th standalone meeting of BRICS foreign ministers. We had hoped to be in India, but the pandemic continues to disrupt our lives, and we thank you for convening this meeting in this way. Allow me to join our colleague, Minister Wang, in expressing our condolences to all in the global community who have lost lives during this terrible COVID-19 pandemic. We have a global dilemma. Millions of people in wealthier nations have been vaccinated, while billions of people in poorer countries still wait and are still vulnerable to infection, disease, and death. South Africa, as well as India, have submitted a proposal to the WTO for a temporary waiver of certain aspects of TRIPS to facilitate wider access to technologies needed to produce vaccines and treatments and diagnostics so that poorer countries with capacity could produce. Agreement will allow use of intellectual property, the sharing of technologies and technology transfer, and the production of vaccines, therapeutics, and wider distribution so that we achieve the ambition of none of us are safe until all of us are safe. We must address this global gap of vaccine access. We congratulate BRICS for its role in addressing the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly the important role of the New Development Bank in addressing the health and economic consequences of the pandemic. We were particularly pleased that we were able, through NDB, to implement the Emergency Assistance Facility, from which South Africa benefited to the amount of $2 billion in loans to assist us in responding to the pandemic and for our post-pandemic economic recovery. We also thank all our BRICS partners for the immense support they gave to South Africa in its moment of need. Our approach as BRICS to the post-COVID recovery is framed within the context of shared principles and values, which have brought the BRICS formation together for the past 15 years. These include principles of mutual respect, sovereignty, equality, democracy, inclusiveness, and strengthened collaboration. And I believe the BRICS is a global example of these values. We thus welcome the Chair's initiative to prioritize reform of the multilateral system. We believe our commitment to a reformed global governance system is very clearly stated in the joint statement we will have before us later. We call on Brics to be equally bold and determined in seeking concrete practical reform of the United Nations Security Council. We believe only Brics can lead on this. We call on all our partners in Brics to address the injustice to Africa and support a representative and relevant reformed Security Council, which would be responsive to today's challenges. We welcome deliberations that we will have in this meeting, as we believe our coming together is a very important signal to the world that Brics continues to be alive and Brics continues to thrive. I conclude by congratulating India for successfully holding nearly 50 meetings thus far, even in these difficult times, within its BRIC chairship role. And we dedicate our commitment to continuing to working with the chair and all our BRICS partners to ensure ongoing cooperation and strengthened and deepened collaboration. Thank you very much, Chairperson and dear colleagues.
Thank you, Minister Pandor. May I now request Minister Carlos Alberto Franco Francao of Brazil to make his opening remarks and welcome him to the group as I do.
Mr. Chairman, Minister Subramanian Jaishankar, dear colleagues, I would like to begin by thanking India for hosting this meeting, one that has become a traditional and significant feature of the annual calendar of international events. It's a great pleasure to be here in my first BRICS meeting as the Brazilian Minister of Foreign Affairs. During my career, I have witnessed the creation of this group in 2006, and it is growing importance, with concrete results being delivered to our societies. During the COVID-19 pandemic, BRICS has displayed resilience in keeping its activities throughout 2020 and 2021, with the spirit of effective and fraternal cooperation among friends. BRICS is a pivotal element of Brazilian foreign policy, traditionally devoted to the promotion of universal peace and development. As emerging economies, Brazil and our BRICS partners share these objectives while working for our common goals of rendering the international order truly multilateral and representative of the aspirations of all. Brazil believes that the joint statement on strengthening and reforming the multilateral system to be adopted today, in addition to our traditional media statement, proves that BRICS continue to be able to speak with a common voice about the major issues of the international agenda. We should indeed engage on serious negotiations to reform global governance and increase the representation of developing countries. To India, I would like to express our gratitude for the partnership that allowed the recent launching of the first 100% national satellite of Brazil, the Amazonia 1. Our STI cooperation is revealing a large potential for mutual gains. We are also hopeful with regard to the cooperation in the production of vaccines, which is the core of our partnership with the Serum Institute. I must also mention our partnership with China, which has proven crucial over the current pandemic. We have reinforced our vaccine cooperation based on the acquisition of new doses and inputs enhancing our bilateral trade to unforeseen levels. In the upcoming COSBAN meeting, I hope we can further deepen our wide range of cooperation. We have also fostered our relations with Russia at the highest level, most of all in the fields of science and technology and public health. We are hopeful for progress in our cooperation to acquire and produce Sputnik vaccines. We will keep supporting the work of the Brazilian regulatory agency in that matter. In response to a kind invitation from Minister Lavrov, I intend to visit the Russian Federation soon, this year still. South Africa is our partner in BRICS, with whom Brazil shares common African roots, similar challenges, and comparable aspirations, such as having a larger prominence at international fora. Our partnerships is still open for additional improvements, bilaterally and between Africa and South America. With that spirit, I hope to intensify contacts with Minister Pandor as soon as possible. With these brief words, I finish in my opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I now request Minister Sergei Lavrov to kindly deliver his opening remarks. Sergey, I think we are not getting the translation. Yeah, yes, now it's okay.
Once again, good afternoon again. Friends, I'm always pleased to meet you, my friends, fellow thinkers. Unfortunately, the spread of the coronavirus infection does not allow us to hold a face-to-face meeting, but I would like to again express my solidarity with India and its people. We are ready to continue doing whatever we can to help fighting the pandemic and to engage in this dimension. Only by joint efforts will we be able to overcome this crisis to the benefit of our countries. Growing stress is faced not only by national healthcare systems. In the context of the pandemic, there are stronger negative trends in international relations, high risk for conflicts, and risk for wrecking the strategic stability system. National egoism, striving for domination by any means and ignoring interests of other countries undermine the foundations of the multilateral system created after the World War II with international law as its cornerstone. I mean the UN Charter, rather than made-up rules made up by our Western partners. There is a growing number and complexity of challenges to the global community, to the sustainable development of the planet. The threat of terrorism, transnational crime, including in the digital dimension, growing the change of climate, growing gap between poor and rich countries. These challenges can only be addressed together. Today we will be able to discuss the entire set of agenda in the spirit of mutual respect and focus on the outcome, which is typical for Brics. Our grouping plays one of the most prominent roles in addressing global challenges of today. It is an example of true multilateralism, inclusive, universal, non-discriminatory. In this context, we support the initiative by our Indian friends that ministers of foreign affairs today send a strong joint signal to the world that we need to reform the multilateral system, firmly building on international law, reiterating the central role of the universal, the most inclusive organization, the United Nations, in the global affairs. There is an unprecedented need for a single voice of Brics in these questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Lavrov. May I request you all, my dear colleagues, to please pose for the photograph. I think we have a agreement to collectively do that. So, thank you.